A storm of anger is about to erupt in Manila. And this time, it isn't China, but corruption at home that has lit the fire. Welcome to GeoFrontline. In the heart of the Philippines, a movement is gaining momentum that could redefine politics, governance, and even the country's role in the Indo-Pacific struggle. It's being called the Trillion Peso March, and it's not just another protest. It's the sound of a nation demanding accountability. For billions lost to corruption in public projects, and the fury of a people who feel betrayed by those sworn to serve them. Tens of thousands are expected to gather in Manila in the coming days, waving banners, chanting for justice, and calling out government officials accused of siphoning off funds meant for flood control and infrastructure. For everyday Filipinos, this is personal. It's about homes destroyed by floods that could have been prevented. It's about children wading through dirty water on their way to school. It's about taxpayers watching their hard-earned pesos vanish into the pockets of politicians. The symbolism is powerful. They're calling it the Trillion Peso March, a name that evokes the scale of corruption, almost unthinkable in a country where millions still live below the poverty line. The sheer size of the scandal has shocked the nation, and it has awakened a powerful sense of rage. This isn't just about money, it's about survival, dignity, and the future of the Philippines. But what does this mean in a broader geopolitical context? That's where things get even more interesting. Because when corruption thrives, national security suffers. Weak institutions and stolen funds mean fewer resources for defense. Fewer ships patrolling the South China Sea, and less ability to stand firm against foreign aggression. And make no mistake, China is watching. Beijing thrives when its neighbors are distracted, divided, and weakened from within. For China, every peso stolen in Manila is a peso that can't be used to strengthen Philippine sovereignty. The protest comes at a critical moment. The Philippines is at the front line of the US-China rivalry, a key ally of Washington and a cornerstone of the Indo-Pacific security architecture. The US relies on the Philippines as a partner in the fight to maintain freedom of navigation, to counter Beijing's aggression at Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys, and to ensure that the South China Sea does not become a Chinese lake. But for alliances to hold strong, governance must be strong at home. The Trillion Peso March exposes the deep cracks that corruption creates, cracks that adversaries like China are eager to exploit. For the protesters, though, this isn't about geopolitics, it's about justice. Many of those expected to join are students, church groups, workers, and families who feel left behind. They remember the lessons of history, when corruption scandals fueled public uprisings and toppled leaders. They draw comparisons to the Million People March of 2013, which erupted over misuse of government funds. But this time, the scale is far greater, and the anger more explosive. Authorities are preparing for the worst. Security forces are on high alert, bracing for a massive turnout in Manila streets. The government is attempting damage control, promising investigations while critics accuse them of whitewashing. The president faces a moment of truth. Respond decisively to clean up the mess, or risk being swept away by a tide of public outrage. Meanwhile, Washington is watching closely. The US knows that a weak, distracted Philippines is vulnerable, not just internally, but on the regional stage. The Biden administration has already made clear that governance and accountability are key to maintaining strong alliances. A Philippines torn apart by corruption could lose credibility in Washington's eyes, making it harder to sustain deep military and strategic cooperation. But the protesters also know that they have leverage. In a world where alliances are built on trust, showing that the Filipino people demand clean governance is itself a message to allies that the Philippines is a country worth defending, worth partnering with, and worth standing beside. And then there's China. Chinese media, as expected, is quick to highlight the chaos, framing the protests as instability that proves democracy is weak. For Beijing, the narrative is simple. While China builds islands, missiles, and warships, The Philippines struggles with corruption scandals. But Filipinos know better. This protest isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the people demanding better. And that demand is what makes democracy resilient. The Trillion Peso March also raises an uncomfortable truth. Corruption isn't just a domestic issue, it's a national security threat. When leaders steal, when contracts are padded, when billions are lost to graft, the country becomes vulnerable. Flood defenses don't get built, naval bases aren't upgraded, weapon systems aren't purchased. Every peso lost weakens the shield that protects the nation from foreign aggression. So what happens next? If the protests swell as expected, Manila could witness one of the largest demonstrations in recent memory. The government's response will determine whether this movement fizzles or grows into something larger. A heavy-handed crackdown could ignite even more anger, while genuine reform could restore some public trust. Either way, the world will be watching. And here's the bigger picture. In the Indo-Pacific struggle, domestic strength is just as important as military alliances. The U.S. can provide bases, ships, and weapons, but it cannot fix corruption inside the Philippines. That responsibility lies with the Filipino people and their leaders. If the Trillion Peso March sparks real reform, it could send a powerful message, not just to corrupt officials, but to Beijing as well. That the Philippines is not a nation to be undermined from within. For now, the streets of Manila are preparing for a historic day. The chants will echo through the city, the banners will rise, and the world will see a people united in anger, but also in hope. Hope that the future of the Philippines can be one of honesty, strength, and resilience. Qualities that will matter not only in the fight against corruption, but in the larger struggle for sovereignty and survival in a dangerous world. The Trillion Peso March is more than a protest. It is a reminder that the battle for the Philippines is being fought on two fronts: against corruption at home and against aggression abroad. And if the people win this battle, they won't just change their politics. They will change their destiny. This is GeoFrontline.